All right, great. And here we go. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And great to have you here as we celebrate Memorial Day today. Thanks to all of those who have served our country. It means a lot to us that you're out there with the intention of securing our freedom and our democracy. Thank you to everyone over here who's showing up, and maybe you're multitasking, grilling some stuff out on the Barbie there. I don't know, but it's great to have you here and hanging out. I see Stephen there. He's on a mission. He's driving maybe to a tuning or something, or visit some family. Great to still have you joining us, Stephen. All right. Well, we'll kind of get started here, get the conversation rolling, and welcome to everyone out there on YouTube and Facebook and whatnot. I'll send out if you were curious to join us for this session in the Zoom. I'm going to put a link into the chat for that out on socials so that you can jump in the room. And in addition, I will share some links in the chat that may be useful for you in terms of if you want to continue to join these sessions in the future and get involved in various ways. So that's coming to you right now. Out on the socials, I'll put similar links into our chat here in Zoom as well. And let's see here. Let's get that going. Oh, we got folks arriving. Chat. All right, so there's some other links and info. I know some links weren't working some weeks, so let me know if some of those links are an issue for you guys. Still get some other folks jumping in here. But yeah, I'll do our intro and we'll get rolling into the story here today. I want to welcome you all in the Zoom here and out on socials to Piano Tech Radio Hour. We do gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world, including manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. If you'd like to keep up with us, attend every live session easily, support the future growth of this fine production, you can subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour at bit.ly/join-PTRH. That's bit.ly/join-PTRH. And also make sure you sign up for Chris Brown's masterclass, which just aired. He talks about regulation and using his regulation station. Also put a link out there for Doug Gregg's masterclass on French polish, David Clavin's recent masterclass on piano design using steel frame concepts. Got a feedback link there, a link to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast is gangbusters, by the way, where we've been a top 100 performing arts podcast on Apple in the United States. And we're growing our listener base every single month. So it's great to have new people tuning in, and make sure you check that out and rate it and all that stuff. And also we do have a nick and dent repair masterclass coming up with Doug Gregg around the third Thursday of next month. So keep an eye out for that and make sure you get signed up for that to check that out as that comes along. And let me make sure I let in a couple other people that are in the waiting room there. And let me do a bit of an intro of our guest today. We'll do a spotlight of myself and herself very briefly here. All right, spotlight me there, and we will spotlight Hannah. And let's talk about Hannah here. She has a lineage tracing back to Beethoven, has played classical music and sang in folk and rock ensembles since she was a child. Over the course of her varied career, she has played concert piano, at Lincoln Center, fronted a punk band in Japan, appeared in over 20 independent films, directed the documentary called My Father's House, A Journey of Love and Memory, and created a 10-plus year retrospective of the music of Joni Mitchell. During the pandemic, she created the International Stretto Piano Festival for artists who perform on pianos with narrower than standard keys for smaller hands. New Yorker calls her an uncanny interpreter of Joni Mitchell's canon. Wall Street Journal says a musician on a mission. And we're here to talk today about these Stretto piano concerts that she so lovingly supports and puts together with her collaborators and team. And there's some interesting developments. It's incipient coming on the horizon here. The concerts will start to begin soon. So we wanted to check in with her and get an update and make sure everybody is tuned in to what's going on with Stretto Piano. So welcome, Hannah. How are you doing today?
Hi there. I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on again. And hello, everybody out in YouTube, Facebook, and Piano Tech Radio Hour land.
Awesome. Well, maybe just first off, to make sure we don't forget to cover this, and we'll share this later, you are sharing a fundraising campaign for the Stretto Piano concerts that are about to happen for 2023. And so I will make sure and share that now, and we'll share that later as well. I'll share that in the Zoom. I'll share that in the socials as well. But check that campaign out. Hannah's been working super hard to put everything together, and every tiny bit of support that you may have counts for the whole agenda. You'll see exactly everything that's going on, and all the work that it takes, and all the resources that are required, and all the plans that are in place, and all the artists involved, all this stuff. So yeah, if you can spare a dollar or two, it will go to a good cause. And of course, we talked about it briefly, Hannah, and I'm sure we can mention any details here. We may not have all the details, but if you want to do some sort of sponsorship type of thing as well, those opportunities are probably available for an open discussion with Hannah as well. So yeah, so let's get into the conversation here, Hannah. Tell me, let's what I'd like to do today is kind of go back to the initiation of the whole project. Walk us through your first year, which was 2021, which was kind of like a pandemic year. A lot of people started interesting things during the pandemic. And then we'll go to 2022, which is kind of like a transitional year. People are still, kind of feeling like they're getting out of the pandemic, kind of doing things online, doing things in person. And then we'll fast forward to this year, get caught up on what's going on this year, and see what it's like in a year where it's kind of that next level of post-pandemic almost, right? Where people are craving that live experience, and there will be much more live, especially compared to the first year. So that would be the general plan today. And but what I'd like to do, oh, by the way, you started this during the pandemic. I started Piano Tech Radio Hour during the pandemic.
Cool.
And I went to a yard sale in my neighborhood today, and I was talking to a lady. So they have in their house in the neighborhood, in their front window, they put a joke on a piece of paper, and they had a yard sale today. So I got to meet the woman and say, oh yeah, my son loves your little jokes in the window. We always check those out. And she said, yeah, I started it during the pandemic, right? A lot of people had something that they just had. It's like, if you didn't start something, then you just probably were just going to waste away. So definitely encouraged a lot of people to come out and do something interesting in this world. So yeah, tell us a little bit about 2021, how this began to happen.
Okay. Well, I went to a yard sale today too. Got some great stuff. There's a lot of that going on. So
believe it or not, my 5-year-old son acquired a pair of night vision goggles for $3.
Wow.
So this is like the pinnacle of, wow, what could you achieve at it? And it was actually his first yard sailing day.
Good,
so we had a lot of fun running around with those.
I got a juicer for $25, like a $200 brand new unopened juicer.
Nice.
I love
it.
Yard sales. And I got some music and some LPs.
Beautiful.
We can talk about music a little later. So I'm just going to go slightly back to remind everyone who might have been on the last podcast I did, and anyone new to know that in 2018, the CEO of Steinway and Sons asked me to put my piano in a public space. And that was the beginning of an unusual journey, me living without my grand piano. I have a 7'4" Steinway that has been used for concerts and other places too. But, I haven't lived with my piano since 2018. And what happened at first was I faced an enormous amount of prejudice because people wanted to play the big keys on my piano. And I kept trying to introduce people to the little keys, but all these big-handed people were, no, we just want to play your Steinway. When can we play your Steinway? It's in this beautiful gallery. So there was a bit of a struggle. And then in 2018, I guess it was, the beginning of the year, I finally, no. It was when the pandemic started. Sorry, in March in 2020. Sorry, towards the
It's
end of
all
20.
a fog. It's all a
Yes,
fog.
exactly. But at one point during the pandemic, I really committed myself to working on a piano piece by a living composer in Germany. A composer gave me this piece of music, and I finally had time to play it on the little keys because they were available to me and things were shutting down. I was alone practicing every day, and I couldn't play the first chord of this piece without redistributing on larger keys, which I've done my whole life. I wanted to play that first chord solidly with all my fingers in the right place. So I started playing this piece. It's, I think, 14 pages. It's not easy. And I decided I was going to have a festival. I decided I'm going to perform this. I don't give a lot of solo piano concerts. I want to invite other people to play with me, only solo pieces. And this is going to be so much fun. So that was I think it was in February 2021. And I told Ron Losby about that, and he was a little shocked. He was the CEO of Steinway and Sons back then. I said, I'm going to have a piano festival. And he said, well, you can start telling people that you can offer these pianos on custom order now. And I decided to call a woman or get in touch with Rhonda Boyle, who was someone from the PASC, the Pianists for Alternately Sized Keys network. She had created this network with Professor Carol Leone and Erica Booker, two professors, a teacher and a professor of piano in Australia. And Dr. Leone teaches at Southern Methodist University in Texas. So, I kind of quickly got to know these two women who had a whole network of pianists internationally, because I knew we would have to have online concerts. It was not really possible. This was pre-vaccine. So the festival was created out of a need to tell people about these pianos who didn't know about it. And even more than that, to unite all of the people around the world who did have pianos with narrow keys, who didn't know about each other. They knew about it. Carol and Rhonda knew about it because they had been assisting these people on different countries to acquire new keyboards to put in their existing pianos. So it was quite exciting. I didn't expect to have 18 people on 4 continents playing for 400 people. It was kind of like a miracle. And I normally don't announce this, but we made $10,000 at a time when musicians were not making anything. We collectively, and the festival did not make any money. I did not make a penny from it, but all of the concerts put together, everyone supporting each other and reaching out to their respective audiences. We had quite a community. And there was a tremendous feeling of power coming from that. So it was a real eye-opener to me that my dream when I was a student and first rebuilding my piano in 1997, I could actually see it happening. So it was extremely exciting for me. I just didn't know it was going to be online during a pandemic. And that was the silver lining of the pandemic, is that people were motivated to do this, to record and upload their concerts.
Yeah. And so what was the month of the event in the end? It was, because you said
May.
It was May.
Yeah.
Okay.
The inaugural festival was in May, and that was partly because there are lots of academics in the group, and they needed to deal with, things they were doing in the summer, end of year things. People recorded their concerts earlier on, and we uploaded them in May.
Yeah.
People had certain conflicts, and we wanted to respect everybody's needs and wishes then.
Yeah. So was it a sequential event then, so that you had the 18 pianists and then it was just guys one after the other, after the other, after the other? You could like watch a YouTube stream, or like, how did it end up manifesting?
Well, Musée.me, the platform that we decided to go with, was something I'd been working with them since June 2020. I've been playing remote concerts since the beginning of the pandemic. And that was really lucky for me because I was able to make some money performing. I also was helping produce other people's concerts at this location, just so, we could keep going in some way at that very depressing time. And Musée agreed to make a landing page for us where we could put all of the artists, and we can show our viewers that if they want to see it. There are links to musée.me. And their staff uploaded all of the videos, and we put them in a calendar, and we put the calendar on the landing page. So every day for 9 days, people could watch 1 or 2 concerts. Some of them started, at like 8 a.m. Eastern time, so it would accommodate Australia or Japan. There were all kinds of odd times, and then you can watch these videos forever. They're up there. You can buy ticket links to them after the event, but the premiere broadcast is where most people would jump on and attend.
Very cool.
And there's a chat box. Yeah. So, it's a YouTube upload, but the company who works with YouTube is called musée.me. And it was really because I was working with them that I felt like I had enough support to conceive of this and present it. Look at all these beautiful people. There was like a whole handful of people there from Australia and from Germany. And the Germans come from other countries too, from Brazil and other places. Katie now lives in Tennessee, I think. Artina is in Memphis. She's a professor there. Yeah, they're really great pianists. Eliana's in Seattle, and Anna Arazzi came down from Boston and recorded on my piano in New York. She will be playing for the 3rd time this year. It was quite overwhelming, meeting all these people, hearing them play, and knowing what they did.
And what? Tell me again how they could all come together. Did you find that there was some sort of a forum, or was it that your connections, like Carol, already knew some of these people? I'm trying to pull it together how it coalesced. How would you find these? It's like me saying, oh, there's a bunch of people who like this or that, maybe a Facebook group. I don't know. How do you find them?
That's past. People for alternately sized keys, a network that Rhonda Boyle, Carol Leone, and Erica Booker created years ago. And they have kept track of all the alternately sized keys all over the world, and they've assisted universities and private individuals, amateurs and professionals everywhere. They've assisted them to receive, to purchase and have these keyboards installed. Most of them, the majority of them, are made by Donison Steinbuehler DS keyboards. And some were provided by the foundation, which loans the keyboards to educational institutions. It's really quite a remarkable network that it's given this movement so much power. So it was really, I was going to have just a small festival in New York, and I wanted people to gather. I wanted people to try the piano. But when I thought about doing something international, I thought, well, that's what I want to have for the future anyway. So why don't I ask these women if they'd like to work with me? They have a network. I have an idea. I have a platform. I have experience producing. I feel confident that we can do this together. It was a tremendous amount of work, but it really was worth it. And when you hear the people play, you become very inspired. and you hear their stories. They all have testimonials. They're Ulrika Wollenweiter from Stuttgart in Germany. She has a really extraordinary testimonial video of why people should be playing pianos like this and what she's seen as an educator. It's it was really one of the most wonderful things I've ever experienced in the more than 25 years that I've been doing this work. And I dreamed of it. So I thank those women from the bottom of my heart. And I'm really glad that we were able to do this together. Maybe Facebook. Facebook has quite a lot of posts. I can't hear you.
Where'd you lose me? I've been
You're
talking
back.
a lot. Yeah,
You're back.
Where'd you lose me? What did I last say that you heard?
How did this happen? And I gave an explanation. I thanked these women from the bottom of my heart, and I didn't hear a response.
Yes, I was saying, I was going to the website and saying, it'd be interesting to see how to get further involved, right? Basically. And I guess I got that question in, like there's like a Facebook group and things like that. I don't know how I somehow muted myself, but yeah, my general comment while I was muted there was it actually didn't quite take that long to pull all this together. If you think about it, February, March, April, May, just a few months. And it just speaks to how during the pandemic, it was easier to pull things together in some respects, right? Because people had less commitments, less things to do. You could reach out to an artist that would typically be touring the world and they'd be say, yeah, I'm stuck in my house. I would love to do something, right? So yeah, kudos for not everybody noticed that opportunity, right? It's all about kind of seeing the opportunities in the downtimes. And by the way, last week we did a rebroadcast of a previous recording, me and my previous co-host David Anderson, and it was during the pandemic, and we were talking about kind of being willing to make mistakes and grow and go into territory that's difficult. And I made this comment: if you look at both of us, you could tell we're both struggling in the pandemic. I don't know, dark circles under my eyes and long hair, long greasy hair. Am I showering? Am I getting my hair cut? Whatever. And poor David Anderson was actually, he actually was going through chemotherapy during the pandemic.
Oh.
A crazy situation. But yeah, just speaks to the fact that we're through that now, and looking back, it was good if the people that did find some type of opportunity in the darkness there, I suppose. So tell me about, you made it sound like everything worked out really well. Were there any hiccups, or was it all pretty smooth pulling things together? Like what were some of the most difficult or stressful moments, or the ways where you thought like maybe it wasn't going to happen, or anything to speak of there, or was it smooth sailing?
There was one concert that Musée they had some technical errors. I mean, wherever there's technology, as we all know, there's room for technical errors and delays. And, there was one concert where we were all waiting a really, really long time for a great pianist to play. And they just had so many concerts to handle, so many buttons to push, so many countries and times. So there were just a couple of times where there was some discomfort and people were writing into the chat, hello, we're waiting here, we paid for tickets, and they're getting a little antsy. So we had to forgive them, and there were times when we were, I was recording with lots of different people in New York, and not everybody was comfortable being around each other. Yeah, it was, it was pre-vaccine times. It was just much more stressful. I think there was a curfew. That might have been the concert after the festival for me. I did my Joni shows regularly, and we had curfews at some points, and it was, there were plenty of pandemic related fears, and some people got sick and they had to postpone their uploads. And we had to keep track of this worldwide pandemic while we were keeping track of every single concert. So, I was exhausted, I was working very hard, constantly emailing and checking things. I didn't want anything to go wrong. I felt like I was responsible. So my heart was always beating for the whole month. And I kept, is it going to be a success? Are we going to pull it off? Are there going to be are things going to crash? But largely there was joy. Yeah. Largely the joy overshadowed all of that. And everybody was just so excited to be part of this community.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm also thinking again back to the show we broadcast last week. So David Anderson, his brother is Kurt Anderson, who's like a famous radio guy. And then his sister, I'm trying to think of her name, I'll look it up, is a business consultant. And so I have a very interesting family from Nebraska. And in her name is Erika Anderson with a K, Erika. And she wrote a book called Be Bad First. And he would refer to that often. And I'm thinking about that as well in this situation of, okay, we're going to put on these video things. We're not sure what's going to, it's like being willing, like you said, it all went well. Like everybody was generally happy in the end, but there are those things where you have to be willing to have something go wrong. Right. And people are stuck, and it's just sort of speaks to that attitude of let's try something that we haven't done before because somebody's got to do it, and it's going to be okay if we hit some hiccups, I guess.
Well, and what I did was I was worried because I wasn't sure with, this streaming platform, just doing streaming concerts. What should we do? Should we upload? Should we do live streams? So on the 88th day of the year, there's something called Piano Day. Maybe some of your viewers know about this. And there are a bunch of people from Europe who want to celebrate the piano, make a big deal about the 88th day of the year. So I decided I would actually do a concert as a guinea pig on that day to help the festival be more successful, because I was so nervous about how it was going to go. So that was in March, and we had so many problems. Like train crash after train crash. Double booked hall, technical problems. There was no sync. The camera was behind my head for like half of the concert. I'm like, people actually want to see my face and not just this. It was so we had to re-record, and we had more problems. And it was like, so that kind of, those hiccups helped solve the hiccups that could have happened during the festival.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Let's talk about the aftermath before we move on to I'd love to talk about 2022 as well. But so this is all was kind of said and done, and you polished off the last broadcast, and I'm sure there was a bit of quiet. I'm sure there's a bit of celebration, but what did you see in terms of the aftermath? Was there people reaching out that you hadn't met before now about this and that? Did it get quiet, and then maybe you heard from people after a while? What was the effect, after everything was said and done?
There was more momentum, and there were a number of people who weren't available to work that first year who said they wanted to do it the next year. So, my co-artistic directors were already saying, so let's start talking about Stretto 2022. That conversation really started during the festival or before it, where they were already anticipating the next year. So that was also truly joyful. And then, we started getting emails from different people. I heard from a couple of really well-known pianists, and I was amazed that they were interested. And then it became really clear to me that, just a festival wasn't going to fulfill the need of top tier artists who usually book their concerts, 2-3 years in advance sometimes. Even though there was a pandemic, they were talking about things with their managers and what they were going to do, especially if they were international. It was very difficult to travel at that time. So, recording things on their own, blah, blah, blah. It was the conversation kind of was evolving towards the hopefulness of doing things in person again. And how are we going to do the next one? Should we have an online concert, and when will it be? So, we were able to plan that pretty, we planned it ahead of time with a lot of notice.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's a good transition to the 2022 event. Why don't I do another screen share here just to kind of get people in the vibe and they can see, because you did again collaborate with Musée, and there's a similar setup. This time it was in June, and you had several artists on board. You've got a map here that's pretty cool.
Well, the attendance really doubled, Ethan. It went from 18 to 32, and there were more than 32 people on stages because there were collaborators. So it was like the enthusiasm really grew, and more people knew about it and were interested. So that was very, very exciting. And Rhonda made this beautiful map that I just love, that shows the impact internationally and the interest of this kind of piano all over the world. It's a great thing to show people when they've never heard of this before, because I think, how did this happen?
Right. It's also interesting. Yeah, it's also interesting to see where, I mean, of course, a lot of this is sort of random due to like who was able to reach who and whatnot. But, I see, okay, well, interestingly, is Victoria in Canada? Is that Canada? Yeah. Okay. So at least one thing in Canada, but not a lot in Canada. Not a lot going on in Mexico, but then all the way down here, we had things in Brazil, and then mostly kind of Northwestern Europe. But, nothing in Africa, nothing in Russia, or, some of these countries in the Middle East, or even China. You might expect you'd get some things going on in China. Singapore is fascinating. Singapore is a very interesting nation, and a lot going on there, a lot of development, and then over here in Australia. So it's always interesting to see where you get things. Maybe if it seems somewhat on topic, if I get a chance, I'll share our like podcast listener map, for Piano Tech Radio Hour or something. It's always interesting to see if you're going to reach the world with something, what pockets do you hit. Very cool. So what kind of folks did you bring on board, and how was it different than the previous year?
Well, the main difference for me was that we were post-vaccine, and we were able to have in-person concerts in New York City. So I rented a hall this time, and it was a much bigger undertaking for me. But there were also, lots of really talented people. I mean, there were talented people both years, but there were even more this year in 2022. And we had experience, so it was just a little bit easier to deal with everything. That being said, people were like Tina Chong, she was new, she's in San Diego. I just thought like having a California presence is really wonderful. So a lot of these artists will allow people to come and visit the piano, and people who want to know what it feels like to play smaller keys. Roland Puntanen, he's from Sweden. He's an old friend of mine, and we had 2 Ukraine fundraisers, so that was also very uplifting. That 2 of the artists wanted to raise money for Ukraine instead of earning money. I mean, in this case, we really, we did everything by the book in terms of an international artist. You have to, plan visas and work permits and all of that. So we wanted to do things in a way that would work for Roland. He just wanted to play. He just wanted to be in New York playing, and it was wonderful. We also had a couple of jazz musicians, including Amelie Procher, who's a fantastic jazz artist from Germany. She made a trip all the way to, I think, to Stuttgart to record her concert. Yeah, there was some original music, Mariana Rodriguez and Steve Sandberg. There was just kind of expanded repertoire choices, and there were more people, more varied people.
Yeah.
Jess Johnson did something that was a collaboration with a dancer, so she was accompanying a dancer. Her husband is a percussionist, and they had this, duo percussion piano. I think they were living composers. I forgot to mention one important thing about 2021, and that was that one of my colleagues in New York City plays, he's like musical director for 9 Broadway shows. And as everyone knows, all the theaters were completely dark.
Oh, yeah.
And his name is Rick Hip Flores. And we actually did a duo concert. We did ours together. He helped record it. He's very tech savvy. And he wanted to play all the Chopin preludes. So, he's usually playing Carole King Beautiful or Ain't Too Proud. He's like fabulous pop, jazz, and also classical musician. So that was one of the opportunities, like another silver lining that came from that period. And
cool.
That's spread into this following year because people still weren't working as much. But it was definitely not as big of a seller because people wanted to be in person.
If they could, that's what they wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah, the online concerts were starting all to become free of charge, and like paying for online concerts was less and less fashionable. And yeah, it was just less focused in terms of the online experience. And that was interesting. We had to have masks at the concerts, and we had to check for vaccines, and we had all these protocols, but people really wanted to come to be in person.
Right. And that was June, I think you said, right? So that was the time where it was people were pretty much feeling pretty confident. I mean, there's some little outbreaks and things like that, and spreading events still at that point, but people were calming down a bit. In terms of repeats from the first year, did almost everybody come back? I'm assuming people wanted to, maybe they had scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
I saw a couple familiar faces as we looked down, but I couldn't tell whether it was everyone.
I think more than 50% came back. I would have to look at it to be sure, but yeah, there were a lot of repeat performances and new testimonials, some new people that were friends or colleagues from people who had been there the year before, new students who were at universities who were interested in taking advantage of this or heard about it and wanted to try. Like one of them, let me find his name. He didn't even really need a Stretto piano, but he had one of the best testimonials in our concert series. Caleb Salizzo, who's an Italian name, but he's Australian, and he's playing the Liszt Sonata, and he's like one of my favorite testimonials. He's saying, "Oh God, I'm so glad to just play what I want," and he doesn't really need this piano for most repertoire, but he wanted it so much for this particular piece.
Yeah.
And that really made me see, like the audience. I shouldn't say the audience, the people who are going to play this piano, a lot of them don't even know that they want it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't have particularly small hands. I'm about 6 feet tall, I mean, I can, but it's still hard for me to play certain things, right? And it's there is that ethos within the piano community of, oh, you work really hard, you attach weights to your thumb, or all these things that people do, but it's like, you can do that, great. And there are certain, I mean, like in any domain, whether it's Joe DiMaggio or, or Lou Gehrig or whatever, like, folks are doing extreme stuff in the name of optimizing their performance. And at the same time, it depends on where you sit in history, what you need to do in order to do that. If you sit at a time where you have access to a piano with narrower keys, then you can sit down and you could play a really impressive piece with big stretches and just not have to kill yourself, so that I get that. We have a clip here from the 2022 festival with Roland Pontonen, who you had mentioned. Should we show that now?
Yeah, let's share that.
All right, let's do that. Let's get over there. Get my volume up a little bit and check it out.
Thank you very much. It's really a treat to be here. This very unique festival created by you, Anna, and thank you very much for inviting me here. I first met Hanna almost 30 years ago at the Swedish Chamber Music Festival on the Swedish island Gotland, very beautiful island. And a couple of years later, I was here and tried this piano. I remember this was in '98, I think. I remember that I, as a first test piece, took the Schumann Toccata, which is particularly taxing for normal size hands. And I was amazed that you could actually, well, you had to adjust your perception of what was an octave and so on. And I've been here for a couple of days now and tried to adjust the size of the octave that I'm not used to. But it's been very nice days here with you and this unique festival. A little about the program, the little mazurka.
Yeah, you can cut it.
It's called Palma.
Very cool. Yeah. And I got to watch it. We watched it before. Pretty sophisticated pedaling techniques that I didn't notice the first time. There's a lot going on down there. Pretty impressive. Yeah, very cool stuff. So I know I want to get us onto the this year's event. But anything else, kind of stand out worth mentioning about last year's or how it led to this year's, or kind of transitional stuff as we roll into talking about this year's event?
Well, again, I realized that there had to be more. We need to be able to offer people more time to play concerts and not just once a year. So it was really either during the 2022 festival or maybe right after. I just knew that I had to begin to create a concert hall for the Little Keys. I just thought um, it's going to take too long to reach the world once a year. And too many artists are asking me, you know, is there another time I can come? Can I come during the year? Can I come in October? Can I come in November? No, and I saw the need for a year-round venue with a Stretto piano in New York City. I thought, we need to have pianos like this in all the major cities in order for people to even know that they exist. And really, the best way to do that is with performing, is, for there to be music for people to listen to, and not just having conversations and submitting proposals and knocking on people's doors who have their own 5-year timelines with their manufacturing industry. I just knew that this idea I had 20, 25 years ago had to take place now. And it is a daunting challenge, but I wanted to do it, and I am committed to it. And I decided I had to I decided I had to rent a more professional space. So, I don't know if we have an image of Engelman Hall, but I was searching. I had to search for a long time. And this has been a very challenging year because the space that I had the piano in, we really outgrew it. There was just too many people wanting to use the piano with big keys. And I wanted to move it out actually a year before I moved it out. I was really not satisfied. Oh, thank you. So that's Engelman Hall, which I'm renting this year for some wonderful, wonderful artists. And of course, we'll have the online concerts, but we've decided this year that we're going to make them all free of charge. And I have to shout out to my assistant, Julia Furlan. One of the best things that happened through the PASC network, through Rhonda Boyle and through Carol, was that they told me about a young woman who was living in New York City who was interested in Stretto pianos. And she had graduated from Winston-Salem University. Sorry, I'm so tongue-tied when it comes to this university always. Anyway, it's in North Carolina and Winston-Salem, and she got her master's there playing on a piano that had narrow keys. I think she said it was an upright piano, but she practiced it on it a lot, and it really, really helped her earn her degree. I would, I'm hoping we'll have a educational podcast either on your network or in another one so that they can talk about their experiences, all these students on universities all over the world. But because of Julia and her experience working for a media company, she said, we should make the concerts free this year because people we can get a lot more exposure if we can just let people everywhere watch the online uploads. And all of the artists can ask for donations. I know a lot of artists who, they can make $1,000 donations in one concert. It depends on their network, of course, but they seem to be doing better with that than, live stream concerts that are ticket based. So we made that leap. And then, we have ticketed events in a really professional hall where there are stadium seating, and there'll be 2 pianos. There'll be a concert grand that has conventional keys. There'll be my piano. So we'll have hybrid concerts where, not like hybrid virtual live, but conventional keys and Stretto keys, which also that's what I've been longing for. I've been longing to have a hall where people can have a choice of key size. And I'm very, very excited about this year's festival, July 15 to 23. The live concerts in New York will start on the 18th. There'll just be 5 days of live concerts, but we'll have uploaded concerts from all over the world and more kids. If you look at the festival page, the first 2 people on the top of the page are ages 8 and 11. I cannot wait to hear them. And if things go the way I'd like them to, I can't mention her name yet, but I have a 6-year-old virtuoso who might be turning 7 soon, but she's playing Chopin etudes in New York City, and we're welcoming her. We just have to find a place to put my piano, like in the next week. So if anybody out there in Piano Tech Radio Hour land knows of a space in New York City that might welcome my piano for the month of June and part of July, I'm looking for the right opportunity to put it in a place where it can be welcomed and shared.
And this is just for kind of storage, or what's the purpose again?
Well, I was offered a recording contract with the label, and I would like to start. I'm going to be recording my first solo album on the Stretto piano, and I'm so excited about that. So, I'd like it to be a recording studio, or at least some place where we could bring recording equipment in and begin to work on this project. The composer Elliot Sharp, he's got a label, and he invited me, so I'm elated. Something I've always wanted to do, and I want to do it about this piano. So, and it's kind of an interesting set of pieces by non-piano composers. They all love piano music, and some of them play it, but they're not necessarily professional players. They play other instruments, like Bill Frisell is a guitar player, and Clemens is also a guitar player that wrote the piece I premiered in 2021, but they're not, his piece is not easy to play. And Astor Piazzolla, whose music I specialized in my 20s and early 30s. So, it's a project that I've wanted to do. And then I could invite other artists to use my piano to make records, or just to try it, just a place, a kind of neutral environment where we could share it for a short time. If I really have to, I'll raise money to rent that too. But right now, the fundraiser is going towards the ticketed concerts and renting a hall moving forward for the next 2 to 3 years. It's a very ambitious project.
Okay, well, very cool. Remind me, and I'll see. We've got some recording studios as our piano tuning clients, and there may be a way for me to put the word out. I have to comb the records and see who's there. But yeah, we work with some cool. I know we've worked with Electric Lady Studios, one that jumps out. I don't know if they need a piano, but
I love that place. But do you think it would be safe there?
I mean, it's a very professional place. I would think so.
It's not Party City anymore.
Yeah, a lot of those places that used to be party. It's really funny. Like, I'm over here in the suburbs of Chicago. It's just like a family town, whatever. And I see in the shop windows an advertisement for another local suburb that's all vanilla and kids and it's like Andy Warhol retrospective art thing, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, Andy Warhol, it's just like, this is Andy Warhol's become a part of suburbia, and it's like nobody would have thought that would be the case.
So there's no crazy partying going on at Electric Lady.
I think a lot of these things have reached the mainstream. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Well,
that's my hood. That's my neighborhood. I live, too many blocks away. Quick walk from Electric Ladyland. So we talk about that. It's totally cool.
Yeah. All right. So we have 5 minutes left. But I want to make sure we cover anything that we might have missed here as we're rolling out. Yeah.
Well, let me, if we have 5 minutes, I want to mention, because a lot of people out there might know some of these people. Roger Lord has played for millions of people on Chinese television. He's known as the Piano Prince of Canada. He's going to be coming to New York to play lots of different composers, including several Chinese composers. Paul Sheftel may be known to your audience. He's 90, so we'll be celebrating his 90th birthday year. He has been doing this project on Bach preludes, but he's also a composer for a lot of pedagogical material. He'll be doing a lecture demonstration before Christopher O'Reilly's Bach concerts. We have like a Bach day, and Chris O'Reilly's a very well-known pianist. Was on NPR for years at the host of From the Top, and he's celebrating J.S. Bach's the anniversary of the Well-Tempered Clavier, the 300th anniversary of the Well-Tempered Clavier, playing his virtually tempered clavier project on a Casio Privia with different sounds of different keyboard instruments. And he'll also be playing the Stretto piano. So that will be like our first hybrid concert. We have a lot of Chinese people who are going to be playing on Saturday, July 22nd, including Ron Feng, who's come from Texas, by way of my co-artistic directors from the past. I could go on and on. There are amazing people who are going to have the virtual concerts like Camila de Loveras and Lucas Goncalves, who was there last year. Please join us. Please check this out. Eliana Yee, who played the Chopin's G minor ballade last year. She's from Seattle. She's also been helping out a lot as our social media person. So we have a lot of really, really exciting things coming up. So cool. I hope you'll be there with us. And Carol Leone she's not up here yet, but she'll be uploading a concert from Texas as well. She's now on the board of advisors. She's just very, very busy with her career and her family. So she's not a co-artistic director anymore, but, and you'll see down near the bottom, Jade Chen, very young girl, is playing lots of Chopin. Her teacher, David Su, will also be playing. So there's like a growing Chinese presence, and we'll have kids concerts, and we'll have a lot of activities and events in New York.
Very cool. Yeah, and that reminds me, we were looking at the map, and I was saying, oh, look, that's interesting. China's not present, and again, it's a lot of that's probably just sort of like the random connections that occur that make this sort of a thing happen. But yeah.
But it's hard to do anything in China, really, in terms of business. You have to really have an introduction. Ron Losby's been asking me to go to Music China in October, and I'm like doing everything in my spare time to find a way. How am I going to do that? Which product can I develop? I really want to develop a product as soon as I can. That's been one of the dreams I've had, and I seem to be getting a little closer with that. It's just, step by step.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to be able to have some conversations with Stein Graber, who are now making pianos with narrow keys. That's like a more upscale company in Germany that.
Yeah, we've had Stein Graber on the program a few times. Udo.
I would love to talk to them about going to Music China, which is what Ron keeps saying. Just ask them to go with you. Go together. Bring your artists, bring the pianos, make it a party, make it totally exciting. I think we can do it. I think this year is going to be a transformative year for everyone. There's no way to predict it, but yeah.
Very cool. Well, before we kind of walk things out here, any final exhortations? I mean, I put the link to the Stretto Piano website into the chat, to the fundraiser, and encourage people to check out a concert. If you're in the New York area, get involved, donate some money, spread the word.
Exactly. If you know people with deep pockets who want to help build a great concert hall in New York City where I can invite everybody, help us out. We can all do it together, and there can be a place for everyone as long as we can sell tickets. As long as people will come, help us build it, and we can do something revolutionary together. It will be nothing but beautiful music and good times.
Awesome. Well, I'll walk us out here, and we wish you the best of luck. And we're trying to have you back here regularly at the end of each month. So we're looking forward to seeing you again next month, and the one thereafter. We can continue to update on the progress and hear what's going on, and connect with the artists that you're working with. So appreciate you joining us once again, and your diligent commitment to what's going on here. But yeah, I'll say, yeah, go ahead.
No time for questions, huh? Nothing in the chat box?
Oh, if there are, I mean, we typically wrap it up right on time. So we kind of, but if people have questions, we can cover them. I don't know if anybody's I didn't see anything that was pressing, but maybe people were shy to ask, and we didn't solicit questions. I will say there was a comment that came directly to me, and I'll share it. Nancy Salmon said, Kate Redding, RPT at Shenandoah Conservatory University now in Winchester, Virginia, just installed a Stretto Action in a Steinway there. She wasn't able to get to the demo, but sounds like she's trying, Nancy. So hopefully we'll get an update from her. She'll get to check out that piano.
Yeah. Thank you for that news. Amazing. Yeah.
Very good stuff.
There's supposed to be one going to Cape Town, South Africa too.
Oh, great. Yeah. We have some fans there in South Africa as well. So that's cool. All right. I'll walk us out. We have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Radio Hour. Again, thanks to Hannah and Stretto Pianos for the concerts, for joining us today and representing. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us by signing up for this session individually, you can make your life more convenient by subscribing to Piano Tech Radio Hour at just $16 a month. You'll get the recording of today's session in a member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. You can sign up at bit.ly/joinptrh. That's bit.ly/joinptrh. For those of you that signed up for the session individually there, you join, make sure to check out those master classes that we recently aired in the upcoming one. We've got the Doug Gregg French Polish, David Clavin steel frame pianos. We have the Chris Brown regulations, got a feedback link in there, and make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast at pianotechradio.com. I'll do a quick screen share because we mentioned it and it's kind of fun and on topic here. So to give you guys an update, here's the back end of my management for the Piano Tech Radio, our podcast. You can see here's our downloads coming in very nicely, growing month over month consecutively. Our subscriber count's growing. We're getting a couple hundred listens per episode, easy, and on several podcast players. But this map here is what I was talking about. It's always fun to kind of see where you're reaching, and a little bit of some common themes there, Hannah, with what you're reaching with Stretto Pianos. Of course, we got a presence in Australia, a little bit more focus there in the area of, Western Europe and Northern Europe, Germany. We got the UK. We got a bit of Spain going on, and we got some activity in Latin America, Canada.
Cool.
Yeah, all over the map. Africa, of course, there's not necessarily a lot of pianos there, but we've even got some exposure there. South Africa, which we just mentioned, we've got some fans in there. So it's really rewarding to be able to connect with folks all over the world. I'll say that. And thanks to everyone that's paying attention to the podcast, pianotechradio.com. Make sure you share it with your friends. Make sure you go over there and you rate it. We usually include a little video that shows you how to rate the podcast in the emails. So make sure you watch the video, get your rating in there. It really helps support everything that's going on, spread the word. And you spread the word not just about what we're doing, but about stuff like what Hannah's doing and what Hannah's doing and all the other cool stuff that we're discovering here on Piano Tech Radio Hour. So thanks everyone for joining. Hannah, thank you again, and we'll see you all again next week. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.